Depending on the country, tax codes are used to calculate sales tax, goods and services tax, or provincial service tax on contract and procurement transactions. These codes and their corresponding rates should be identical to those in your accounting system, so discrepancies do not occur when exporting transactions. Corecon's knowledge base includes a list of Corecon transactions that will reference tax codes. The Contract Admin module, Procurement module, and Time and Expenses module all have transaction types that will reference tax codes. Certain provinces in Canada require separate tax codes to be tracked and to show the results as separate tax codes and amounts on many of those reports. In the US, there are several states that also have a municipality tax or a locality tax on top of their state sales tax that may require a similar setup. To get started, let's go to the Global Settings, to Company Settings, and to Taxation. The first thing we want to note is the option at the bottom, the default tax code setup based on job cost code. You have the option to assign a single default tax code per job cost code, or you can have separate AP and AR default tax codes per job cost code. We're going to switch to the separate AP and AR default tax codes and click Save. First thing we want to do is set up two tax codes and then show you how to use those two tax codes to create a tax group. Certain provinces in Canada, such as British Columbia, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Quebec, have a similar setup in their GST and PST tax. So the first one, we're going to click Add, and we're going to call it G, and the description will be GST, and we're going to put the rate as a whole number representing 5%. And I'm going to click Save. Then we're going to add a second one. We're going to call it P, and PST, and we're going to make that 7%. So we have our GST and PST as separate tax codes. But in some cases, they need to be combined into one rate, however, tracked and reported as separate dollar amounts. So we're going to go up to Add again, and we're going to call this code GST PST group. And we're going to check the box that says is group. Then we're going to add those two. Add PST first. We're going to add another one, and that'll be GST. And click Save and Close. Now, if you have a single tax rate that you charge for either AR or AP, you can set up any one line item. But in some cases, when you need to combine more than one rate, you create a tax group. So the GST and the PST will be tracked separately but charged as one rate. Now let's go back to a project and then to Contract Admin and to the cost code table. And since I'm tracking these separately, I'm going to go to the column settings. I'm going to take out the tax code, and I'm going to add separate columns for the AP tax code and the AR tax code, and click Apply. So now they're here and they're blank. So we'll select all cost codes, and we're going to assign the AP tax code first. And we'll say that's just the GST alone. And the AR tax code will be the tax group, which is a combination of the GST and PST. And click Save. If you do this before you set up any other transactions, such as purchase orders, prime contracts, and so on, these default tax codes will also default to those transaction types. If you'd like to know more about this subject, we encourage you to go to the knowledge base and then to Settings, Company Settings, and Taxation. This group of knowledge base articles includes the information covered in this training video, as well as additional information you'll find helpful. Specifically, we may also point out that there are additional information that are country-specific details on setting up tax codes, and there's also a tax code reference logic that you may want to review as well. This explains how Corecon decides which tax codes to assign to each transaction type.